What is up, everyone? Hello, my name is Megan. I'm from the Alaska MEP, the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Today, I have Beatriz Gutierrez from CONNSTEP. Hello, Beatriz.
Hi, Megan. How are you?
I'm doing great. Tell us where you're at.
Oh, I'm in Hartford, Connecticut right now in
Nice.
the office.
Oh, how's the weather?
It snowed this morning, but it stopped now. This is a crazy spring.
Agree. We have snow right now. The flakes are gigantic. I'm watching them come down, and it's like, no.
Yeah, we had beautiful weekend. Then we have rain and snow, and now it stopped. So we'll see
Yeah.
what tomorrow brings.
Yesterday I refused to shovel, and I don't think I could do that again. So it's okay. We're here. We're here now. Well, thank you for coming on with us today. Me and Sammy appreciate it. Yeah, Sammy is on maternity leave, so I'm here managing the lives. And just to start us off, could you tell our audience a brief overview of CONNSTEP, because that's what we're here talking about, and the role that you play in assisting manufacturers with their business challenges and then their growth?
Absolutely. So CONNSTEP is part of the MEP family. It is Connecticut's MEP. And we've been in one way or another one in place since 89 as a 501c3 34 years. So it's pretty, we've been here a long time. And the way we go to market is very interesting because we are a 501c3, which allows you some flexibility. So we have our own delivery people that go to market. We are known in Connecticut as the lean people because that's where we came from. That's our background. But over the years, we had extended our service and morphed our services to include other things that the market demands. So we are very strong in cybersecurity, compliance, quality assessments, EHS, lean. And lately, we've been doing a lot of supervisory training, which, speaks to the need of the market for workforce development. Our model is hybrid, so we do have direct delivery, but we also bring third parties, qualified third parties that work with us that allow us to give a broader scope of services. For example, HR, recruitment, leadership development, strategy have been very, very needed in the latest years. Connecticut is very special because we have a lot of private ownership at the small and medium manufacturing, and a lot of that is generational. And we're getting to that point where people have to decide, what do I do with my business? So we also get very involved in succession planning advising.
Smart. Yeah, there's definitely some shifts happening, right?
Absolutely.
What are the main industries in Connecticut? What are you guys working with most?
Aerospace, it is very large. Aerospace, shipbuilding, and medical devices. Particularly because we have electric boat here in Connecticut. So when I say shipbuilding, we're talking about submarines. We are also home to Raytheon, Pratt & Whitney, Sikorsky, and Command. So aerospace, both in commercial and defense, for such a small space, because we only have 3.5 million people, we have a very, very large supply chain in defense, aerospace, and medical devices.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you know how many manufacturers you have in your state around?
Around 4,500.
Wow, okay, that's awesome.
And out of that, 95% are small. So as
wow.
Yes, we have large OEMs, but not that many.
Yeah. Okay, so for the audience, like, what would be considered small?
Small, where we spend a lot of time under 100, and even most, I would say 80% of them are under 50 employees per site. So a lot of opportunity between 25 employees and 50 employees, and even smaller. The thing, though, is that we have noticed that our services are used significantly into that 50 to 100. And actually, part of our HOPE strategic plan is to really get to the smaller ones more efficiently.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, the small folks too. I mean, even just those small training opportunities are so impactful.
And that's another area where we serve customers. We do provide training, call them programs. We do continuous improvement training, and we do quality systems every year. And on those continuous improvement training, it's a 6 months commitment, and the company actually sends someone, and we provide both the training in-house and the mentoring through all that time.
Mm.
It's a very strong program, and we have been very successful with it.
Yeah. I think that's great because we do have a lot of issues with the workforce development. We hear it here too. It's like not being able to hire folks and then skilled folks. And this is how we need to build up what we have, you know, internally to cover those gaps.
And that skilling up is the area where we have been very involved. We wanted to do something in supervisory training for a long time. And we finally came to it and said, okay, let's do it. And it's been so popular because,
Wow.
as we all know, with the pandemic, a lot of people retired and left these gaps of knowledge in these companies. So that has pushed the companies to also bring people up to new skills and to management positions within their operations.
Wow. Wow. It's very, very interesting. I feel like we kind of touched in a little bit on the second question that I had, which was how you guys have this strong track record of business turnaround and achieving your growth goals. So, all of this, I mean, the strategy is the key, right? And the tactics for implementing that ability for those manufacturers to grow. Do you have anything else that you help, like how can you help those manufacturers navigate that growth?
Yeah. So one thing that I think is a little different in Connecticut, particularly in the last year since 2019, Connecticut created a position called the Chief Manufacturing Officer. And that position is under, an office of manufacturing per se. So that is resourced by the state. And why that's important is it brought a lot of focus into working in manufacturing, not only for the MEP to actually reach out, but coordination of resources around the state to really bring other pieces of the puzzle. So, for example, that office has applied and brought up funding from the federal government, Department of Defense, for example, to really do a lot of innovation around model-based definition, around energy systems, etc. And they bring together other players. Could be a university like the University of Yukon, could be Central Connecticut State University, Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology, CONNSTEP, and it brings all these pieces together to not only deliver directly, but to create capacity models. So that's been a little different. I think that what other states have done in the last years, it proved itself very useful during the pandemic. As I say, was created in 2019. And that office, for example, was instrumental in making the decision with the governor of keeping manufacturing open. Never closed. But to do that, CONNSTEP coordinated together with them on, with the chief manufacturing officer at the time, PPE, and getting the right tools to every manufacturer in Connecticut. So that vision, that commitment, and that funding, because it's the three things. It is the fact that the state has taken an active position of bringing the funding at a federal level. We also have in the state a board. It's called the Manufacturing Innovation Fund, which is funding that the state has designated for manufacturing. It is a fiduciary function of a team of private industry. So they're appointed, but they're all from private industry, and that board makes decision on programs to help manufacturers. And some of those we participate. For example, last 2 years, there was a real commitment from the state to focus on supply chain. So ConX, which some of your audience may be particularly, the state of Connecticut funded the platform and funded the licensing for 2 years for manufacturers in the state. And we had the responsibility to reach out to the manufacturers and execute. So when we're thinking about our role and how we want to position the role, we are moving away from being just a service provider to manufacturers to being a trusted advisor. We want to really focus our effort not just in words, but in action on bringing other resources from other places to the manufacturer. So example, you want to buy equipment. Obviously, we don't finance equipment, but we have those relationships with the Manufacturing Innovation Fund and with Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology, which manages a voucher program, to say, this is how you need to do it. Let me help you with your application. Here's where you need to go. So it's very interesting. Connecticut, I would have to say, is very progressive in that sense. We also have a green bank, which funds energy in programs around energy tax credits and so forth. So a lot of activity, a lot of activity.
Interesting. Okay. Wow. Okay. I'm blown away. That was a lot of information. The chief manufacturing officer is a state position?
Yes, it is. It is. It reports under the Department of Economic Development. It reports to the government.
Did you say that it started
2009?
Oh, 2009?
19.
Okay, 19. Okay, so it
there's
was like
been two.
Right before COVID.
It's a 2-year position. So the first person was Colin Cooper, and the second person is Paul Lavoie, which holds the position today.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, that is amazing.
Created through legislation. So it is very unique. It is appointed, but it acts as the chair of the Manufacturing Innovation Fund. But that fund is the funding is directed by private companies. They are selected to be in it, and they direct the funding. So you're doing your best, at least, to bring voice of the customer and market needs to the program, which is a little different than maybe other states and even us did before.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. That's amazing that you've already seen like such a difference from that, like having that person in like the political space, to help with funding. And yeah, that's huge.
Coordination. I think what it does, that position first elevates the industry and as a group, but then it does provide some level of coordination with other organizations that are doing the same. An example of how this is working in practice. So we also have an Office of Workforce Strategy that looks at all workforce strategies for the state and pathways to careers. So the manufacturing piece of that is informed by the Office of Manufacturing. So they work very closely together, trying to identify where the gaps are and what are the things that are needed to do to really move the needle. An example of that is 2 days ago, the chief manufacturer officer finished a study they were doing, and what they found is that, unlike the theory that we have had that people don't want their children to be in manufacturing because it's dirty, it's hot, and that, what they found is in Connecticut, people don't know what manufacturing is. So it's a total different problem. It's not, I know what it is and I don't want it. The reality, so it's not a misperception, it's they have no opinion, no perception.
Interesting.
So there will be a lot of work in months to come to try to even say that shirt on your body has to be made by someone.
Yeah, that education. Wow.
Very interesting work. And we engage with them both by conversations. We're very active working with that office. There is a cabinet that was created by that office. It's called the Manufacturing Cabinet. We are members of the cabinet. So basically, universities and nonprofits were brought to the table to say, inform us on what you hear. So, like anything, there's growing pains, but I think long-term, the model is going to prove very, very successful.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that we get something like that in Alaska. Like that would be amazing. Wow, interesting. That's so good. I'm glad they're supporting that. And I feel like we struggle with the same thing here. It's like teaching or educating, right, what a manufacturer is. It's not just like this super high tech thing either. And that's where targeting those smaller people and like having them understand that they are making something is huge.
The role that we play as MEPs, I think, is critical. It's critical to the industry, and we have these conversations all the time. We talk about what a company like Raytheon wants, or Lockheed Martin, or whatever. So we say, oh, they need this, they need this. But at the end of the day, is how do you take that and bring it down so it's meaningful and it de-risks the investment? Because here I am, a small guy making parts, and now you wanted me to be in digital thread, and what if I do all that and I lose my contract? So I think where we provide a lot of value is bringing those concepts to a point that we can de-risk them for the small company. So
Yeah.
we really work on the ROI with them. And that's why I feel that it's so important that as we do our work, we are moving into being sustainable, obviously, and creating revenues and creating impact. But most of all, do we have the time and the motivation to spend a lot of time with the customer on that ROI? Technology is the best example. I don't think there's any manufacturer that will say technology is not good, or they may even understand how it works, but am I able to get into that and get the return on investment on
Mm.
on my technology? And we need to be very good at developing solutions for the need, not giving solutions that nobody's asking for.
Yes. Yes. And also, let me go back on the not just coming up with ideas, taking action. I'm a big believer in that as well. I think that me being on the entrepreneur side of things just a year ago was one of my things. I'm like, I could talk to all these organizations, but like, what's actually happening, because then you're spending that time talking to the people. And it could be easy to just be like, oh, what about this idea and this idea? But as an entrepreneur, it's like that could just be more overwhelming to have
Mhm.
more ideas in your head. Um, I love this. Okay, so going into like some efficiency stuff, let's talk about automation. It's become really important in manufacturing. I think it also plays into that workforce, right? Issues that we have here. So, what role does CONNSTEP play in assisting businesses with automation initiatives? And then, what successes have you seen in helping companies adopt automative technologies?
I think the key to that thinking, and I like to really wrap it around, we're all talking about I 4.0, and that sounds great. But reality is automation and technology is broader than that,
Mm,
correct? So when I'm going to a small shop and they have, three ladies putting something to a threader or something, if you can find some technology to help with that, that's our.
mhm,
So for our customers, we have a very broad scope of what that means. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on is to really have a very strong discovery process that
mhm,
allows us to really understand where is the customer in that curve of technology and what are the efficiencies that they truly can get from that. So let me give you an example. We had a particular company that had CNC machines and
mm,
some manual processes into it. We were able to work with the customer, and what they did is they connected these three cells into basically a robot that places, a pick and place, places the part, and then the machine does it and so forth. So you think, oh wow, they eliminated jobs. No, because now one person can look at several of these setups
mhm,
and make sure that they're doing a higher level job. Uh,
mhm,
for Connecticut, that is very important because, as you know, Connecticut is a very high cost state. We don't come cheap. We have very good labor, excellent labor, but we have minimum labor cost plus cost of living in Connecticut is high
mm,
compared to others. So in our state right now, we have like 100,000 jobs, not only manufacturing but in general, open, and there is no people to fill them up. There's not that enough. There
right.
is some that we can train and scale. A lot of the work we're doing, for example, is with underserved populations, women, veterans, returning citizens. But there's a point where you cannot bring more. So then automation there is a solution. That's a clear solution. But to do
Mhm,
that, one thing we do is we're very focused on discovery and on making sure that we get efficiencies out of the process before we automate it. Because as most of my lean people out there know, is the worst you can do is to automate a bad process.
Truth.
That is a waste. And so that's how we differentiate ourselves from other providers. Other providers said, I have this robot, or I have this technology that is going to do all these things for you. We say, what is it that you're trying to do? And exploring that, there may be things that we can get out of process without much investment. And then we say, okay, we have this process is capable. I mean, we cannot do any more with it. So now let's think about automation. And that is especially important for our small customers, because hiring the wrong person is a problem, but it's an investment you can repair. But putting together a machine that you're never going to use is a waste. And not only a waste that time, but it affects the culture of the company around automation solutions.
Oh, great point. Yeah, great point.
Even if it's free. Now it's like, see, the other thing we work a lot with customers is the CAP, correct? The change management piece. Because at the end of the day, you have to get the anxiety down from automation solutions. People don't, sometimes don't embrace automation because unfortunately it has been used to remove people. And what we have to think about is, how do we make it so you can have a better job? Like the example I was given, that operator didn't go away. Now it has a higher value job that pays better for him in this case, or her, instead of, oh wow, now we have this, and you don't have a job.
Yeah, exactly. And well, yeah, the workforce issue, right, is huge. And I think that this is where it's like this balancing act. I like to thinking of the companies being in a bell of the technology of where you're at, because yeah, you can't just go into a company and be like, you know what? Yeah, add a line to this that's going to do it all for you. It would be a really huge
I
waste.
have to say, one part where we're challenged sometimes is the ROI, particularly in the newer technologies, AI, virtual. We know they're here. They're not coming, they're here. We know that it's a matter of months or years to bring them in full. But how do you measure that value? And there are models out there, but we need to, maybe other MEPs that are watching can call me and say, I have a better way to measure it. But we're struggling a little bit on really coming with a strong ROI that says, this is where it's really meaningful for you to change.
Yeah. Good question. Good thing to put out to the people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How can we figure that out? And I think too, it's like, we have to ask the questions to get the answers. Oh, amazing. Okay. So to move on here, in your view, what are some of the key challenges facing the manufacturing industry as a whole in today's business landscape? And how can our manufacturers adapt and thrive in the face of these challenges?
So I think the first one is, I think, very common to the whole United States. For 20 or 30 years, we told people, don't make it here, move it somewhere else. So we lost a culture of making things. I used to travel a lot back in the early 90s, and I would go to cities like Pittsburgh or Buffalo, or cities in upstate New York. And you saw these cities built around a plant, around making stuff that were failing economically because we moved it out. So I think, and we can discuss 200 hours for why, but we almost became a society that didn't value making stuff, making fun. So I think that first that we all talk about is a cultural thing that we need to take pride. And I'll give you an example. You go to Germany, Germans love manufacturing. They built a culture around manufacturing. If you do a trade show in Germany, for example, and if you want to keep your spot for next year, you have to staff it on Sunday, because it's the day they bring community into the trade show. So moms with children and families and old people, they all come to see the machines. And as a vendor, if you leave your booth, you lose your booth. That is a culture that values that. Not only the school systems, but the community values manufacturing. And that goes down to the trades, that goes down to engineering, etc. So I would say that is cultural. That's going to take time to do. But beyond that, I think we need to recognize that in our country, at least in states like Connecticut, our population is getting older and we're not passing those skills to the next generation. And what used to be maybe a generational business, after 4 or 5 generations, nobody wants the business. So how do we help these customers to really grow and be able to succeed? And part of what we're thinking about a lot, at least inside CONNSTEP, is how do we create ways to mentor new entries into the system. So let me give you an example. There is a very successful organization in Connecticut called is the women, small business women council. And you have women that make candles or make or biscuits or whatever, jewelry, whatever it is. And they have been extremely successful at growing those businesses, but they don't see themselves as manufacturers. Is there an opportunity to really mentor them and partner them with these existing companies that need to be transitioning out to say, you've been a successful entrepreneur, you have been able to grow to a certain level. How do we get you to do it in scale? And that is an opportunity that we see here. So I would say those are and definitely at a more basic level, access to capital. Access to capital. It is hard for a manufacturer. I mean, I'm talking small and medium. It's
Right.
hard to make investments. A lot of these businesses are, because of their nature, are brownfields. If you try to transfer them, you need to clean them up, and that's very expensive. So it's also how do you create an access to capital. So if I want to buy that business, I have funding to clean it up. I have funding to make investments, because it's hard to go to a bank and say, oh, well, why am I going to use as collateral? The old business. So I will say, if I have to think of things we need to do, the workforce piece is an issue, but the culture is an issue. It's both. The ability to bring new entries into manufacturing in a state particular where people are getting older, very important. And then de-risking the investment for the companies. Access to capital is always a challenge. And the level of investment is very high. It's not the same to say I'm going to open a restaurant than to say I'm going to make parts for aircraft.
Truth.
That is a lot of money. So you need money to do it.
It is. Yeah. Great points. I would agree. The culture idea too, I'm like, wow, yeah, that's true. This is all it all makes sense, right? And now when I talk to people, because I'm doing the SCOIN stuff, so the supply chain program that's going on for the MEP right now, when I tell people about what we're doing and we're like trying to bring manufacturing back to America, everybody's enthusiastic and excited about it. But it's like, where are the people? We still don't have those people doing the things yet. So it's like, how do we get the young folks to come up into that and want to do it? Yeah.
One thing I bring up sometimes with people, they say, we need to bring honor back into being in manufacturing. And the reason I say that, you look at Europe, there is a culture of apprenticeship, and you're a master something. But we almost took the honor of doing things. And the more we can do that, I think it will be helpful. And particularly, we put a lot of the burden on the actual manufacturers to provide solutions to the problem. Let me give you an example. We have manufacturers in Connecticut that want, our manufacturing is more suburban. So they want to bring young people into their facilities. So they're looking for ways, very creative ways, to put transportation, to get them there, and daycare and all that. But that's a cost to that manufacturer. So you need wraparound programs and wraparound services to get those people to work. And we're lucky in Connecticut. There's a lot of thought about that. This particular administration is thinking about those things. But at a national level, we need to do that. We need to really make it easy to recreate what we lost.
Agree. Yeah. And that capital is huge. That
Oh,
capital.
absolutely.
We need all that help, yeah, that we can get because it takes money, man, to be doing anything.
It takes money. I think one of the big things is manufacturing because of its nature, inventory,
Yep.
raw materials, equipment ties a lot of money for the business. So their cash flow then is compromised sometimes.
It does. Yeah. And the startup costs
Yeah.
to,
So to
to keep
grow, you
around,
need to have
right?
some extra, and that's where we need to get them. So they're not day to day.
Yeah, and then what I see is like the manufacturers that have an idea, want to make something. It's just them. Like for us in Alaska, we don't have many options. We don't have many people making things here to do it for you. And so they're automatically outsourcing,
Yeah.
which hopefully we can get at least connections to the US suppliers, to strengthen that side.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think there's the momentum. Right now,
I agree.
at the federal level, there's conversations at the state level, and I think communities too. I think parents or families are reconsidering paying $200,000 for an education that may not get you a job. So I think
Mhm.
this generation seems to. I actually read that they call them the two belt generation, the new disease, because they are beginning to consider maybe I'm not gonna do that. The
Yeah.
$200,000 debts, which is good because we need people at all levels of the industry.
Yes, things are going to change no matter what. Things are going to change no matter what as we grow. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so to wrap this up, Beatriz, could you? I would love to hear your thoughts on how you and CONNSTEP, or what you and CONNSTEP are most looking forward to in your future. Anything that you have developing on the horizon that would be supporting our manufacturers.
I think one of the biggest thing is CONNSTEP has been a very well kept secret, and that is not good. We do great work, and I think we have been very modest about the work we do. So as we're looking in the future, one thing is we want you to know we're here. We are very focused on marketing and letting people be aware of the services that we provide because it's the best way to think about your taxes at work. Correct?
Yeah.
I always tell manufacturers, I said there are very few times that you find a program that is using your taxes to work for you, and that is the difference with the MEP program. So I think that is a value. We are doing as part of that. We want to do a lot of education and education on new things that are coming. For example, this type of setup that you have, I congratulate you on it because it's an easy way for a manufacturer to get some information on things they don't know about. So we're
Yeah.
looking to do more of that and then meet customers where they are. Another thing that we have been very excited is for a long time, our organization definitely benefited from the opportunity of having a lot of people available to work with a lot of experience. As we all know, that has changed a little bit. And we have had to adapt to bring into the fold people that have different experiences, younger people that have maybe more digital or technical experience, but maybe not as much operation experience. So how do we really work in onboarding different people into CONNSTEP so it becomes a model that can continue and can continue to serve? So we are very proud because we have 5 generations working at CONNSTEP today.
Wow.
And we are and that gives us a lot of experience, but also gives us a lot of innovation and a lot of energy. And I'm looking forward to getting us to be able to apply all that for the customer, at the customer.
I love that. How many do you have on your team?
26.
Is it just the one center?
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
One
Wow.
per state. In our state, is only one.
Yeah, yeah. I always find it fascinating because I don't think people realize that there's an MEP in every state. And then I don't think people realize how different the centers are between the states. So I try to put that into perspective because even though we're a big state, we're pretty small up here. We only have a team of 6, right? So it's
I laugh because Connecticut is very small in terms of geography, but it's very big in the number of companies. So, and very diverse. So we are serving it makes sense for the service. But then, as you said, Alaska is huge, but there's so much in between. I used to live in Wisconsin for 10 years. I went to school to Marquette, and that's a very example. You can go for a long time and not find anything. That's Connecticut. In 2 hours, you're out of the state.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'll have to visit sometime.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
But
All right.
Not this time. Come when it's out there.
You got it. Don't worry. I'm trying to go to Hawaii right now at this time. We're still snowing here. I need to go to an island. Yeah.
Puerto Rico is good too.
That wouldn't be a bad idea. I like that idea. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me,
Oh,
Beatriz.
my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, sharing all this information. It really is like we want to have a point somewhere on the internet where we can direct people or even send this link out to people. So if you think that this could be valuable for others, please share it. Thank you for joining us. And I think that's it. We're wrapping up here. So if you have anything
for anyone out there that does not know about MEP, call anyone. Call the one in your state, call us, and we'll direct you to the right place.
Yes, please do.
Thank you very much for putting this together. This is a wonderful.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks. And next time, I believe we're going to be talking to another manufacturer in the state of Alaska. So I will see you again. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.